Alright, so today we're going to talk about volume and nets. We are going to use graph paper again to help us draw more accurately, and we are going to use the same shapes that we talked about with surface area. So first we're going to start with a cube. So I'm going to draw 4 and then 2 by 2, 2 by 2, and then connect them to make my cube. And if you remember, when we were studying exponents, we learned that the little 3, this little 3 means cubed, and that little 3 also stands for volume, because when we are calculating volume, we are multiplying 3 numbers together. We are multiplying the base, the width, and the height, and we're getting the whole figure. So this is kind of like a review, because you guys have already learned how to calculate a whole figure. So the volume of a cube is base times width times height. And if you think about it, it's also edge times edge times edge, like we learned. With a cube, all of the sides will be the same. So let's give this one a 2 by 2 by 2. And so when we calculate it, it will be 2 times 2 times 2. And I don't have a unit, so we're going to call it units. I don't have inches or centimeters, so we'll just say units. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 units cubed. Remember, the cube is because we multiplied 3 numbers. Cubes are really easy to find the volume if you just remember it's 3 sides multiplied together. Side times side times side. When we're doing the surface area for a cube, it's side times 6 because of the 6 faces, and they're all the same with the cube. It gets a little bit trickier when we're talking about a rectangular prism or a triangle. Alright, with the rectangular prism, I'm going to use the same rectangular prism that we drew before. So I'm going to draw a 2 by 3 rectangle. And a 2 by 3 rectangle. And then I'm going to connect them. And I'm going to say this is 5 units. The width, the base is 2 units. And the height is, actually, this is 3. The height is 2. Now, if this rectangular prism was sitting up, this side could be the height. And these two could be the base and the width. It just depends on the direction of the rectangular prism. It doesn't matter though, because we multiply all three of those numbers together to get the volume. Again, the volume is the base times the height times the width. And here we have 3 times 5 times 2. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 times 2 is 30 units cubed. All right, for the volume of a triangular prism, wait, I'm just double checking to make sure you have to find volume of a triangular prism, because prism, not prison, I want to make sure that that is part of our standards. I think it is. Come on. I'm looking for it. Area, volume. Yes, okay. Just checking, it's here. All right, so we're going to do a triangular prism. And I'm going to draw one that looks a little bit different than the one we drew the other day. So I'm going to make a triangle here. And I'm going to go straight up and do a triangle here. And then I'm going to connect my lines. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to label these. And instead of units, I'm going to give them an actual measurement. So I'm going to say this base here is 10 feet. This height is 6 feet. And when I look at the height, I'm not looking at this whole thing. I'm actually just looking at this rectangle here. That's the height of that rectangle, not the height of the whole figure. And then the height of the whole figure is actually this side, this outside piece, which is 15 feet. So again, here I have my base, and I can see the base. I can look at this rectangle here is 10 by 15, and see that that is one of my faces. Here's my other face, which is also 10 by 15, and then this one. So those are my 3 rectangular faces, and then I have 2 triangles, one here and one here. And the height that I labeled is the height of my triangle. So you've got 3D figures, you got to really look at them carefully. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the area of the base. or the triangle. We'll just call it the triangle. One triangle, because we know we're going to have two of them. And that is going to be 10 times 6 divided by 2. Base times height divided by 2. So the area of one triangle is 30. And I'm going to take that, and in order to find the volume, I multiply the area of one triangle by the height. The height of the figure, which is the 15. So, volume is this number we got here, 30, multiplied by the height, which is 15. And yes, we are only multiplying two numbers here, but we're still going to use cubed because in the end it's really three numbers. So 30 times 15 is 450 feet cubed. And that would be our answer. Cubic feet. So multiply the area of one triangle multiplied by the height gives us the volume. Let's do one more triangular prism for practice. And I drew mine really big, so I'm going to go ahead and just use the other side of my paper. Alright, so triangle 1. This one I'm going to use without graph. And I'm going to use fractions. All right. So this little corner here with this line means that this is a right angle. And wherever I have a right angle, that side is going to be the height. It's straight up and down. It's not a curve. And I can't assume that any of these have a right angle without actually seeing this side. So this is going to be our height. This is going to be our base or width. They're called the same thing. They're kind of interchangeable. And then this here is our side. This is the height. Well, this is also height. Sorry, that's kind of confusing. This is the height of our figure. This is the height of our triangle. Okay. So first we're going to calculate the area of the triangle. So that's going to be 5.5 times 6 2/3 divided by 2. In order to multiply these, I have to turn them into improper fractions. So this is going to have a 2, this is going to have a 3 on the bottom. 5 times 2 is 10, 10 plus 1 is 11. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 2 is 20/3. I multiply those straight across. I get 6 on the bottom and 220 on the top. 11 times 2 is 22, but it's a 10, so it's 220. And then it's still over 2. So the first thing I have to do here is simplify it. So I'm going to do 6 into 220. 6 goes into 22 3 times, which is 18. I get 40. 6 into 40 is 6 times. 4 left over, and since I'm working with fractions, I'm going to leave this as 36 4/6, but I'll simplify it to 36 2/3 over 2. Still not done. I'm now going to put this into an improper fraction so I can divide it by 2. So 36 times 3 is 108, plus the 2 is 110 over 3 divided by 2 over 1. It's a lot of math. In order to divide fractions, I got to make my denominators the same. So I'm almost there. 110 divided by 6. It's going to give me 110 over 6. I can simplify this, but I'm going to wait because I still have to multiply it by 12. So I might as well just simplify everything at the end. So the area of the triangle technically is 110 over 6 feet. Okay, the height of the triangle. The area of the triangle. Now that we have the area of the triangle, again, I'm waiting to simplify it until the very end because we still have to multiply it by the height of the whole figure. So I'm going to take 110 over 6 and multiply it by 12 over 1. Multiply straight across. 6 times 1 is 6. 110 times 12. $1,320. Now I can simplify. Sometimes, guys, there's lots of steps. So 6 into 13 twice. 6 into 12 twice. 6 into 0 0 times. The volume is 220 feet cubed. And hopefully you won't have a lot with fractions, but sometimes you do. And it takes a lot more steps than it does if you don't have a fraction. Okay, so that is our volume, and now real quickly I'm going to show you nets. And you've probably seen nets before, but I just want you to have an idea because you might have a problem that asks you about a net. And a net is just, let me define it for you, a plane, P-L-A-N-E, figure that can be folded to make a solid. So this we're going to draw our own net here, and it's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. So you'll see that I'm drawing solid lines and dotted lines. The dotted lines is where you would fold in order to make the solid figure. So if all of these were the same and I folded it, I would make a cube. Another way to make a cube is if I were to fold here and here, and here, and here, that will also make a cube. So there are actually several different ways to make a cube with a net. I'm not going to show you all of them, but just know that a net is an unfolded version of a solid. And there are nets for rectangular prisms, triangular prisms, and cubes. I'll show you. These are both cubes. I'll show you one rectangular prism, and then we'll be done. There will be no to do because I will give you a worksheet on practicing with these. Your net for your rectangular prism could look something like this. So these are your faces. These are your sides. And we know that a cube has six faces. So we know that we should have 6 boxes to fold. And we know that a rectangular prism, I'm going to go back, has 6 faces. Remember, 4 of those faces are long and rectangular, and 2 of them are short and rectangular. So as you can see in this drawing, we also have 6 faces, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the longer, and 2 of the shorter. All right, that's it.